When you gather to eat with someone else, you're moving into a level of intimacy with someone that is probably deeper. You should look through all the cases of Jesus eating with people. It is one of the most common things it's reported he did was he ate with people. He ate with tax collectors and sinners. So he didn't just eat with good people, he ate with like the dregs of society.
First off, it's probably one of the big ways many people feel cared about is time. Without time, most people don't just share the hard parts of their life. So I think when they know that they can trust you, that you care about them, and that you're present, they tend to open up more about their story. I don't think I had any idea of what happened when I died. I had grown up thinking, I think there's a God, I hope there's a God, and if you do more good than bad, you get to go to heaven. And then by the time I was 20, I was starting to think, no, you just die and rot in a box. And I thought, hey, I've got 60 years to figure this out. I'd started off going to college somewhere in downstate Illinois and transferred to Iowa State at 20. And starting at a new school where I didn't know anyone, but I wasn't a freshman, so it was hard to find a place to kind of, where was I going to belong? And so I think God had me exactly where he wanted me.
He had seen some life that some of us hadn't. And he's from big city Chicago, so he's a city kid. We connected on that level because I grew up in Washington, D.C. area. He was probably the first person I've known that's been raised in a Jewish background that really became a close friend.
I had a roommate that was randomly assigned, and he filled out a survey for a chance to win a free pizza. It was a spiritual interest survey. And so 2 guys followed that survey up in our dorm room, and that's ultimately how I met the guys who ultimately led me to the Lord. They reached out and invited us to church and a couple other activities.
We basically wanted to try to live out our faith in the college dorm life situation. We would go out and pray in the fields. We would walk around the dorm building and pray for the dorms. And we were trying to read the Bible in community, and so we were inviting people into that. I think the first thing actually Matt came to was that we just had a spiritual discussion group, and we would just talk about the intersection of faith and the world that we're in. He was there every week and would talk about faith every week, and we gathered really quickly that he was not just someone who was interested in faith, but he was kind of spiritually seeking. He was trying to figure it out.
I had known people who attended church in the past, but their lives didn't look any different than mine. And this was the first person that I had ever met whose life looked different because of their faith. And so we went out a couple times and we read the Bible and we just talked about stuff. And ultimately that led to them going through the cross diagram with me and quickly recognized that I was a sinner, and that ultimately was the initial driver for me to say, I am a sinner and I need Jesus. I was extremely into myself and a bunch of things that weren't terribly godly. So they never quit at any point being themselves, listening to me, listening to my story and getting to know me. There was a lot of conversation about what God had for our lives. And I remember having times where he'd say, hey, you want to read the Bible at 6 a.m.? And I'd be, absolutely. He would come to the door and I'd either be asleep or I'd be awake and I just wouldn't answer because I wanted to be sleeping. And so that's what I really appreciated, was that despite my sin, they were faithful to keep showing up, keep sharing truth. I did have spiritual interest, and they continued to walk with me both before I got saved and then after, helping to disciple me. I would say it was somewhere right around my 21st birthday. I was at Iowa State. There's these big towers. There was a big field out there, I think, where they do collegiate running. And I do remember sometime in October walking out with the guy who had been discipling me and praying out in that field that I recognized that I was a sinner and that I needed Jesus. I feel like I have a purpose in my life that I was lacking. There's these ways that you build your life on career or pleasure or whatever it was. And I think I certainly was building mine on, you're a good student, and then you have monetary success and career success, and you have a family, and that's life. But you just start to see the ways those things don't fulfill.
We had these patterns of prayer and reaching out to people and serving people that we had established, and Matt joined that. When Matt said, I'm going to follow Christ, he just started living life with us. Then post-college, Matt and I actually moved in and lived together for a couple years and continued to go back and do ministry in the dorms with people that were still in college.
In a perfect world, I would have no conflict with anybody, and I would be liked by everybody. And that is not a terribly realistic experience, right? Especially if you're going to really love people and share the truth of the gospel with them. Knowing that, the verse that really helps me with that is 2 Timothy 1:7, which says, God didn't give us a spirit of timidity or fear, but of power, love, and self-control. It reminds me of who I am in Christ, and I think remembering who we are in Christ, that we are ambassadors, this is our identity, that really helped me push past whatever my fleshly response to those types of things would be.
Matt's been amazing because of just his loyalty to the faith and to our friendship, and someone that I think is going to leave a legacy wherever he goes, because he's not someone who's just a Sunday morning attender. He's trying to live out his faith through every part of his life throughout the week.